is going on, everybody? Welcome to a very recruiting focused opening drive episode of the Couch and the Couch Potato. Opposite side of the screen, we got Coach Slate. As always, I'm Jeremy the Couch Potato. What is good, sir? How you feel like this week's been for the Buckeyes?
It's been a very recruiting heavy week, obviously with the opening you just had. I feel like we haven't had a lot of people jump into the portal, which is good, with this time of the year. But we're hearing a lot of guys that are gaining some traction, some surprises with some interest with a few people that we didn't necessarily think we'd have interest in. But we mentioned it last week. We were definitely going to have some interest in some defensive linemen. And so you're hearing a lot of those names pop up. And so it'll be interesting to see what the Buckeyes do with those names.
Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting week. To this point, the portal closes on April 25th. To this point, though, the Buckeyes have lost three guys to the portal, none of which are a scholarship player.
Yeah.
One word that we say every episode: culture.
Yeah.
Those guys, punter Anthony Veneri, Reese Stockdale, wide receiver, and Morrow Evans, long snapper. Obviously, Reese Stockdale's got some talent. Could be like a Sam Wiggles situation. Obviously wish those guys the best.
Yep.
got natty rings. Now go find playing time.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt about it. And having been at practices and seeing those guys in action, those guys are contributors. You hate to lose those type of role players on the team, but at the same time, you get it. Like you just said, they want a natty. They want to seek other options so they can go get some playing time immediately. So hey, go support them. There will be guys that go support them wherever they go.
Absolutely. Before we dive into the portal stuff, because everything portal wise at this point is quote unquote hearsay. On Tuesday, though, a guy we talked about a few episodes of recruiting chips back, Brock Boyd, flips from TCU to OSU, gives Ohio State their third wide receiver in the class, joining Chris Henry Jr. and Jaden Ricketts. Going to be interesting to see what happens there. I think 4 is always the magic number with Heartline, but This could be a 5 class. There's a ton of talent. Brock Boyd is a guy who, seeing social media during on Tuesday when he committed, people get so enamored with stars.
Yeah, man.
I saw a post, we've got 5 stars that can't even get on the field, and we're taking a 3 or a 4-star guy. Not all wide receiver positions are not created equal. Fair enough.
That's fair enough, man. Listen, this kid can ball. You can turn on the film and you can see that this kid is a first down go getter. I mean, this is the type of kid that you want in your receiver room. That Julian Edelman. That I'm going to do whatever it takes to scrap and claw to go get that first down, 100 catches a year type of guy. Right. Oh, and also he can go run a sub 11 100-meter dash, and he can do all these different things. And he's just one of those kids that is going to surprise you with his athleticism. One of the things that I really enjoy about this guy is that he's a dog. Like, he has got a chip on his shoulder, and you can tell. And you could tell one of the things that he said when he committed to Ohio State is that he wanted to be a part of this culture. And so, listen, if you can get all types of these guys, let's bring them. Get him here. The other thing too is he comes from a powerhouse program in the state of Texas and South Lake Carroll. And then the other part of it too, we are not going to get Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tates and Brandon Ennis's every single cycle. NIL is going to change that. They are going to be spread out more and more because other schools are going to be able to pay these guys a lot more. And so now you're going to have to really do your research and go find these guys who have elite traits. And one of this kid's elite traits is that he can be a beast in the slot, in my opinion. I think he gives off a lot of Jackson Smith and Jigba vibes. That's a very, very, very early comparison. And I hate throwing that on him because he's not even on campus yet. But he gives off those type of vibes, and he doesn't have he's not coming with $2 million price tag to get him here on campus. And so, listen, I think Coach Hartline did his due diligence with this, and Brock Boyd's betting on himself. And so, when you get those kids, man, who are betting on themselves, you're going to get the absolute best out of those guys. So I'm excited about this kid. I think he is a special one. Got to get a little bigger muscle wise, but this kid's got a lot of talent. So I wouldn't even look at the stars and just go watch his film. And you can see that this kid dominated against some high level talent in the state of Texas.
Yeah. I mean, 6'2", 183. So the frame's there.
Yeah.
The kid has over 30 offers. He's the 58th ranked receiver, but at a position like receiver where most teams are running 3, 4, 5, that's still up there. And he's a consensus or composite 4-star. And you hit on the speed, 21.7, 200. That's pretty fast.
It's pretty fast.
The JSN comparison is really good though, because that's another guy from Texas who came in almost underrated.
Yeah.
And we saw what JSN was able to do. Junior year, 111 receptions, 1,875 yards and 19 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's legit numbers. I mean,
that's insane,
especially for a guy like, a slot guy essentially.
Yeah.
But, if say Cardinal Tate goes pro this year after this season, you don't have a true slot on the roster right now. So that's what I meant when I was saying, all receiver positions are not created equal. I mean, you have to have slot guys.
Yeah.
Obviously, let's hope that his tenure is a little bit longer than the last Southlake Carroll recruit that the Buckeyes had, and that'd be Quinn Ewers.
I think it will be.
I think so too. And then you asked me a trivia question this week, and I got it wrong. So Brock Boyd will be the first white scholarship wide receiver at Ohio State since who?
I'm going to butcher this guy's last name, but he's from Upper Arlington. Frank Epitropoulos
yeah.
Yeah, that was back in class of 2011 or 2012.
And his dad played at OSU too. I said Dane Sanzenbacher because I thought Frank was a walk-on. So Slate got me right there. Just a cool little nugget of information. You never know what we're going to pull out of our hats. High school recruiting wise, I think there might be a couple guys popping soon. We saw some crystal balls roll in today for the Dean kid, who I think is moving to defensive line.
Yeah, I saw that.
The one offensive lineman said that he may have a commitment coming soon. Obviously Favors hanging out there, and I still think Favors coming to Ohio State.
I think so too.
It's going to be interesting. Still no leader in the quarterback clubhouse. I thought we might see an offer go out last week, and it didn't.
Yeah.
So I think we can probably scratch that one. The guy we both thought might get it. But we'll see. Hopping into the portal. Big portal visit tomorrow. Bo Atkinson, North Carolina defensive end. I know we've said D-tackle, but sometimes there's a kid you just don't let go.
Yeah. Bo Atkinson, defensive end, North Carolina, 6'6", I believe 270 plus pounds, just a massive individual. Had a great year at North Carolina last year, 50 plus tackles, I believe 6.5 or 7.5 sacks, something along those lines. Just a very, very sound, solid player. The big thing about him, he provides position versatility. Yes, he's a defensive end, but he's a big body that you can bump inside. You can do a lot of different things with. These are the type of NFL bodies that Coach Patricia would love to have on his defense. And that is what you're going to see, a common theme when it comes to going out and getting these types of guys, when it comes to, finding these I don't want to say niche, players, but finding these guys, they can play multiple positions. That's going to be a common theme under Ryan Day. I think for the rest of his tenure at Ohio State, it's just guys that can do multiple things. I think Bo Atkinson is one of these guys that can do that. And so if we're able to get this guy, this is a huge loss for Coach Belichick. I mean, this is a huge loss for Coach Belichick. I'm really shocked that this guy is wanting to leave the GOAT and to go into the portal. So I don't know the situation there, but this guy checks all the boxes. This is just a situation where if you're Ohio State and you can get this guy to, commit, you got to take him. There's no question about it. And so if we can get this guy into the fold, it just adds another very, very, very solid defensive player to that defensive line rotation. And you have to get this guy if you can get him. And so this is a special player, man. He just fits our scheme. Being a 4-man front, I think he could just do a lot of different things. You add him to that rotation with Caden Curry, with Kenyatta Jackson, CJ Hicks, Logan George. I think our defensive end room becomes very, very scary. And then you can obviously rotate him in as a defensive tackle as well. There's just a lot of different things you could do with him. And I think that defensive line unit just becomes a lot stronger if we can get Bo Atkinson here.
Yeah, I mean, it's an OSU, UGA, South Carolina battle. He's already visited Georgia, the OSU visit forthcoming, and then rumored to be visiting South Carolina. That's kind of going to be a trend, I think, with a lot of these D linemen, which South Carolina is going to be a hot. I'm trying to think of my word here. Destination. Yes, there we go. Words are hard. With the way Dylan Stewart really balled out.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We saw another name go into the portal and then already come out of the portal that would have been an interesting get. Guy who broke a lot of our hearts in recruiting the first time around, David Stone, was going to leave Oklahoma, is going back to Oklahoma, so cross him off the board. But defensive tackle, probably the biggest name that Ohio State's been linked to so far is Murad Watson from Syracuse. I feel like they owe us him for Kyle McCord. 6'3", 313 defensive tackle, was a freshman All-American. Obviously, he fits a need.
Yeah. And he, like you said, he's a freshman All-American. This is the type of guy that I would really want to get because he's not a 1-year rental. This is a guy that you're going to get for multiple years. He's already proven that he could do it at the Power 4 level. And I think this is a guy who fits an immediate need. He's a bigger individual. You can look up his film. He's a big guy. He's a very solid player. He's a plug and play player right now. I'm not saying he comes in and he takes away, Caden McDonald's starting spot, or he takes away Edric Houston's starting spot. I don't think that happens, but I do think he probably becomes your third defensive tackle right now. He's that type of player. And so this is a guy that I think that I'm excited about the possibility of getting him, because this is somebody that you can develop with Caden and with Edric Houston. And so now these are guys that you're going to have for another year or two together that you can develop together. And so that's something that excites me, to have this group. And so now you're going from having an inexperienced group this year to next year bringing that same group of 3 guys back for another year. And now that defensive tackle group goes from being inexperienced to having a ton of experience and being a strength of our team the following season. And so this is a guy, like, for me, I'm going all in on and getting. I'm not saying he's going to be an absolute game wrecker and he's going to be what helps us win another natty. I'm just saying this is the type of guy, given what we need in the portal, given the need that we have on this team right now, and given what we'll need in the future, I think he just checks all of those boxes. Coming from a Power 4, coming from a well-coached coach in Fran Brown, I just think this is a guy that we would go get. And so he checks all those boxes for me, man. If we can make it work, let's go get him.
Yeah, I agree. Fran Brown also might have had the quote of the week.
God, he's awesome, man.
Discussing the transfer portal. They had a wide receiver go into the portal who rumored wanted $2 million. And Fran Brown basically said, only homie getting $2 million in college football wide receiver is the homie at Ohio State. So I thought that was great. Another defensive tackle name, I don't know a lot about him, is Troy Pikes, defensive lineman from Georgia Southern. Sounds like there's been some contact there.
Yeah, there's been some contact. Troy Pikes, 6'3", 290 pounds, from defensive tackle from Georgia Southern. I believe there was some injury or something that happened this year. He didn't play a lot, but this is a very talented player. Since it's going into the portal, there has been contact with Georgia, UCF, and some other schools. Ohio State has been in contact with him, according to some other websites on the Buckeye beat. And so we'll see what materializes with that. I know there were some reports that he's trying to set up a visit. Again, this is a younger guy that would have multiple years to develop. Don't know if this is a situation where he gets on campus and he's actually going to provide. He's just going to provide more depth. Is he going to be immediately better than what we already have? I don't think so, but he provides more depth on the interior, and so we'll see what happens there. But if we could go get one of these guys like a Murad Watson, those are the type of guys that we would go get. But Troy Pikes is another guy that has been linked to the Buckeyes here in the recent days.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think you'll see them, and that might be a developmental type guy, and that's okay. Um, and then kind of surprising, we were talking before we came on here. There's linkage to a couple of offensive linemen. We thought the O line was in good shape, but like you said, maybe they don't want to keep Saraveld at tackle. Sounds like Orion Irving has a visit coming from Sam Houston State, a 2023 freshman All Conference USA tackle. So he's no slouch either.
Yeah. And offensive line is just one of those positions, man, that you want to keep stacking talent. You just don't know when you're going to need it. And so why not go after somebody that you think has the talent to be somebody down the line for you? And why not bring somebody in that you think can compete at that right or left tackle position? I think they think the world of Austin Saraveld. I think they believe that he's got a lot of position versatility. I don't know if they necessarily want to keep him at tackle. I think they believe Austin Saraveld could start on the interior. I think they feel very confident about who they have on the interior as well. So if that's the case, why not go bring in somebody else that can compete with Ian Moore, Phillip Daniels, and Ethan Onianwa to be, our starting tackles. And if we can go get somebody who, again, is not just going to be here for 1 year, he's going to be here for multiple years, and he's also played at a very high level at Sam Houston State. Well, let's go out there and try to get him. I believe Tyler Bowen said the number that he would like to have is 16 scholarship offensive linemen in that room. I think that is a good number. You've got to have that depth. And so I'm all for it. Build up the depth in that offensive line room. I know they've been connected to another guy that's in the trenches as well as far as the guard position. Go build up the depth in that offensive line room. I am never going to complain about that because that's where it's always won. And so if we can go get this guy, that's great. The one question I guess I have is there's been some names out there that, like I forget his name, but the defensive tackle from Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Like those type of guys, I wonder why we didn't make like a harder push for people like that. Like played in the SEC, it's got 2 years of eligibility, had played at a high level in the SEC. Why not make a push for those type of guys? And I wish we were in those rooms for those conversations. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because those are the type of players who jump in the portal. And it's like, these are veterans. They meet an immediate need right now who could arguably come in here and battle for a starting spot. Why not go have that conversation? And maybe they did, and we just don't know. Right.
Right.
But those are the interesting situations and conversations that I wonder if they happen. And so that's something that I would love to pick, Coach Johnson and Tony Washington and all those defensive lineman coaches' brains.
So I saw that question posed this weekend. And the response that made the most sense to me in today's day and age of college football was that maybe there's a bigger fish coming. Maybe David Stone was originally that bigger fish.
That's a grethat's a great point.
Obviously we have heard since the day that he signed, is Justin Scott happy in Miami? There are ways to have these conversations without having these conversations.
Yeah.
I was talking to a college bowling coach this weekend. Same exact scenario. I can't talk to the kid until the kid's in the portal, but I can talk, to people around the kid, or people around the kid can ask me questions,
Oh yeah.
but not have any real conversations.
Yeah.
So we got 4 or 5 more days left before the portal closes. I think you'll see something pop, sooner than later. There's been some intriguing names at other positions. I just don't think there's a spot.
Yeah.
Um, the safety from Miami,
Yeah.
would be interesting. I don't think. I think with what we saw in the spring game, I don't think running back is a concern.
Nope.
I think there will be a vet quarterback brought in, like we've said.
Yeah.
But and obviously this all changes if somebody leaves Ohio State.
Yes.
One thing that is worth monitoring is, obviously we kind of hit on the Nico situation. Nico is officially going to UCLA, and he's going to make like $900,000 a year after taxes.
After taxes.
Kudos to your handlers, Nico.
Yeah.
But it sounds like Tennessee is out there turning over every stone at quarterback.
Yeah.
When does Tennessee call Lincoln Kienholz?
I'm sure that they have had people contact his people in an indirect way. I'm
Right.
sure that has already happened. And like you said, that is the name of the game right now. And until there are some guardrails put up, that's just the way that it's going to be. It's just crazy. Transfer portal is just crazy. It's just crazy. There's no other way to put it. But I'm sure there has already been some sort of contact. And that's one of the reasons why I believe that, Ryan Day is not named a starter yet. And so that can stop that from happening, because, hey, he's actually in the battle. And so this is a situation where, hey, you can't go yet because you could still be the starter here. And so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of ties up the recruiting side of life. So I'm going to throw a detour at you here.
Okay.
With obviously recruiting being kind of where we started the episode, it's draft week. So Ohio State is looking at losing a lot of guys. Does Ohio State get 16 guys drafted? I think 15 is a given.
Yeah. Listen, I hope it happens. I think it comes down. Who's it come down to? I think it comes down to G.
Yep.
G and Josh Fryer. I think those are the two guys that it comes down to. I think G put himself in a position to get drafted. I think with his pro day, going out and running a 4.6, I think he's got the traits and the athletic ability that lend himself to be a very good, hybrid receiver, tight end type. And he's just got the type of character that you would want within your organization. I think Josh Fryer's got position versatility, whether he's a tackle or he can kick inside the guard. People underestimate Josh Fryer's athletic ability as well. And so I think there is a possibility for it to happen. I would love for it to happen. The one thing, and I was listening to, what was the podcast? It might have been Dane Brugler. I can't remember, but somebody who covers all the NFL draft stuff. I think it was Dane Brugler. He was talking about this Buckeye draft class, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to say, yes, they do get it done. I will say we get 16. But he was talking about this Buckeye draft class, and it just pumped me up. He said, they don't have like a top 5, top 10, top 20 draft pick. He said, but what they do have is a bunch of second, third, and fourth round draft picks that you want in your organization. They're going to come in, they're going to work hard, and they're going to stick around in the NFL for 6 to 8 years, and they're going to make every team that they're on better. And I'm like, that, like, to me, like when you speak about like culture, like that is what you want. Like, obviously, yeah, you want to be able to put Jeremiah Smith's into the NFL. You want to be able to put Zeke Elliott's into the NFL, right? You want that. But for talent evaluators to say like this is a group of a bunch of steady eddies that you could count on for a very long time, like that is like that, man, that is such a good recruiting tool. The way they talk about Emeka Egbuka, the way they talk about, even Josh Simmons, the way they talk about Jack Sawyer, the way they talk about our running backs. Like it's just phenomenal to hear the way they speak about them, man. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see where they go. Obviously, we're Browns fans. I hope we take a couple of them. That would be great. Hopefully Quinshawn ends up in a Browns jersey. That'd be fantastic. But yeah, man, I'm excited. I think they get to 16. Fingers crossed.
I think Brugler's wrong. I think Josh Simmons is a top 15 guy.
I do too. If he doesn't tear his ACL, I think he's definitely a top 15 guy.
Yeah, I think Simmons is a top 15 guy. I think Emeka sneaks into the first round. I saw one that had Travion at 10.
That's crazy.
Because the Bears love him. Totally off topic, but Travis Scott just showed up at WrestleMania.
Of course he did.
So that's going to be interesting to see. That's Thursday night. Like you said, second and third round. Friday night's going to be a huge Buckeye night, though. But yeah, that's kind of, I think, it. It's been a pretty quiet week for the Buckeyes. So, allows us to get you guys kind of a quick hitting opening drive. So hopefully your drive to work isn't that long, or you'll have to go check out another Buckeye podcast or some music. As always, we are here courtesy of the Barn Baseball and Softball Academy, and we look forward to recapping the draft next week, and obviously anything else that happens on the Buckeye front with the portal closing. We will see you guys then.